Okay, let's dive in. We're about to look at a story that took a really unexpected turn.
hmm
The relationship between two massive figures, Donald Trump and Elon Musk.
Yeah, it went from what looked like a very, very tight partnership in 2024
Super tight.
to, well, a surprisingly messy public fight that just exploded in June 2025.
And the shift was, wow, pretty dramatic.
You had one of the world's wealthiest, most influential tech leaders, aligning strongly with the former president,
Oh,
and then it just completely unravels in like a matter of days.
exactly. So we're pulling key insights from, the articles, the research, their own
Yeah.
very public social media posts, all the stuff you provided,
Right.
to really try and understand how they got here. What specifically triggered this fight in June and what the potential impacts are.
Yeah.
Our mission, really, is to cut through the noise and just get you the most important facts and, honestly, some surprising nuggets from this whole saga.
And it's especially surprising when you think about how integrated Musk became, like into the whole Trump world just last year.
Totally.
They weren't just allies, they seemed like actual partners. Shared vision, the whole thing.
Right. Given that context, this huge public blow-up
Yeah.
feels almost, well, unbelievable. So how did this relationship, with this eventual dramatic end, how did it even begin?
Well, if we look back, it wasn't always smooth sailing between them. Not at all.
No.
There was definitely a bumpy start in their early interactions, say roughly 2016 to 2022.
Yeah, I remember that. Back in 2016, Musk wasn't exactly a fan, was he?
Not really.
He was quoted saying Trump wasn't the right person for the presidency. Disliked his character, I think.
Yep, that set a pretty clear tone early on.
It did. And that friction, it played out publicly once Trump became president.
For sure, Musk joined some White House advisory groups briefly, tech, manufacturing.
But he made a very public exit, didn't he, in 2017?
He did, right after Trump pulled the U.S. out of the Paris Climate Agreement.
And for Musk, with Tesla.
Exactly. Electric vehicles, sustainability focus, that was like a fundamental policy disagreement. A red line, maybe?
So early on, it was policy clashes, personality friction. But they did seem to find some common ground, didn't they? Occasionally.
They did, yeah, briefly. In 2020, Trump actually called Musk a great brain. That was at a SpaceX launch.
Oh, right.
Seemed like a moment of recognition, Musk's achievements. But it also highlighted the reality SpaceX relies heavily on NASA contracts.
Which the administration controls.
Well,
Okay.
great.
So it
Yeah.
shows how complex their dynamic was.
Right.
Capable of both, like public praise and these deep disagreements.
Mm.
But the tension definitely came back later.
Oh, absolutely. By 2022, things got heated again, properly heated.
What happened then?
Trump called Musk a Bulls artist at a rally, apparently because Musk had denied voting Republican.
Wow. And Musk fired back on X, right?
Yeah.
Told Trump to. What was it?
Hang up his hat and sail into the sunset.
Sure.
Pretty direct.
Yeah. So even before 2024, you could see these two, strong personalities, occasional policy differences. It could lead to public spats.
It certainly showed that beneath any potential alignment, there was always the potential for, well, significant clashes, big ones.
And that's what makes the shift in 2024 so fascinating. Here's where it gets really interesting. Despite that history, they became incredibly close.
This transformation, it really seems to have cemented after the assassination attempt on Trump, July 2024.
Right.
Musk posted on X, I fully endorse President Trump and hope for his rapid recovery. That public endorsement felt like a clear turning point.
And it wasn't just words either, was it? The sources show Musk putting serious financial weight behind that support.
Serious money. Spending somewhere in the range of $288 to $300 million, helping Trump, other Republicans.
A lot of that through a super PAC, targeting swing states.
Yeah, exactly, like Pennsylvania, places like that. And his presence, his physical presence in the Trump world became pervasive.
Also?
We saw him showing up at rallies, even pictured in a Magi hat at one point.
Really?
Yeah, and frequently at Mar-a-Lago, in meetings, dining with Trump's family, even joining calls with world leaders, like Ukraine's Zelensky, Turkey's Erdogan.
That kind of access is rare for anyone, let alone someone who'd publicly criticized Trump before.
Very rare. And Trump acknowledged it, too. Called Musk a super genius during his victory speech. High praise from him.
And he gave Musk a formal role, didn't he? Even before the administration officially kicked off.
He did. Musk became co-head of the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, they called it, alongside Vivek Ramaswamy.
DOGE. Okay. And the mission for DOGE was pretty clear. And Very ambitious.
Extremely ambitious, drastically cut government spending.
Like, how drastically?
We're talking plans to slash federal workers by 75%, eliminate entire agencies like the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau.
Get rid of them.
Gone. Push for $2 trillion in budget cuts, generally shrink the government footprint, ease regulations.
Policies that, maybe not coincidentally, would likely benefit companies like Tesla and SpaceX.
You'd think so, yeah. And Trump publicly seemed to back this vision, at least initially.
Right. I remember seeing pictures. He was showcasing Tesla cars on the White House lawn. March 2025.
That's right. During some protests, actually. Made a point of it.
So the partnership looked incredibly solid on the surface. But the sources hint that even within this close alliance, some subtle friction was starting to appear.
Seems so. Musk reportedly began clashing a bit with other members of Trump's inner circle. People like Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
Over what?
Different policy priorities, it sounds like. Little disagreements bubbling up.
Okay. And those underlying tensions may be combined with a critical legislative moment. That's what brought us to June 2025, when everything just erupted.
Exactly, that's the fuse. And the trigger was this massive piece of legislation. Sources are calling it the Big Beautiful Bill.
Catchy name. What was in it?
Yes, well, it was huge. Over 1,000 pages, tax and spending plan, passed the House late May 2025, heading for the Senate.
And it contained some pretty significant elements.
Huge. It would add trillions, like $2.4 trillion over 10 years, to the national debt. Raise the debt ceiling by $4 trillion. Included tax cuts, military funding.
Okay, but here's the kicker, right? The part that directly hit Musk and his companies.
This is it. It eliminated the electric vehicle tax credits, worth up to $7,500 per car. Gone.
Wow, just wiped them out.
Yep. And crucially, sources note this happened while apparently keeping subsidies for oil and gas companies.
Ouch. So for Musk, who'd aligned himself with Trump on, government efficiency, cutting spending.
Right. Seeing a bill pass that increased the deficit and specifically targeted his core industry, it must have felt like a direct contradiction, maybe even a betrayal.
Yeah, it wasn't just about Tesla's bottom line then. It seemed to challenge the whole principle he was supposedly brought in to push with DOGE.
That seems to be how he took it, yeah.
Okay, so let's trace the timeline. How quickly did this go from, simmering tension to full-blown public war? Because it seemed fast.
Incredibly fast. It started on June 3rd, 2025. Musk didn't waste any time, went straight to X, his platform, and publicly attacked the bill. Hard.
What did he say? Use strong language, I bet.
Oh, yeah. He called it a disgusting abomination and pork-filled. Specifically slammed the deficit increase, the sheer length, the opacity of the document.
Say Congress didn't even read it.
Claim they barely read it, yeah. Passed in the dead of night, that kind of thing.
Did anyone agree with him initially?
His criticism did resonate with some, including a few Republicans, actually. Senators Rand Paul, Ron Johnson. They reportedly echoed his concerns about the debt.
Okay. But things really, really blew up on June 5th. That was the day.
That was the day. The conflict escalated dramatically. Trump was in the Oval Office meeting with Germany's Chancellor, Friedrich Merz.
And he commented publicly about Musk.
Yep. Told reporters right there that he was very disappointed in Musk. He claimed Musk did know about the bill beforehand.
Wait, Trump claimed Musk knew?
Yeah. And said Musk was only upset because it cut the EV credits. And then he added, pretty pointedly, I've helped Elon a lot.
Oof. Okay. Musk's reaction on X.
Immediate and harsh. Directly accused Trump of lying. Stated, and this is a direct quote the source gives, this bill was never shown to me even once. Exclamation point and all.
Wow. Direct contradiction.
Completely. And Trump's counter on Truth Social was just as swift and just as public.
What did Trump say?
He announced he had fired Musk from the DOGE role, using really strong language like, Elon was wearing thin, I asked him to leave, I took away his EV mandate, and he just went crazy.
Fired him. But wait, Musk responded to that, right? On X again.
Instantly. Said the firing claim was a total lie. Clarified his 130-day DOG job had ended as planned back in May 2025.
So before this whole bill fight.
Exactly. And Musk even mentioned Trump had given him a golden key to the White House as like a parting gift.
A golden key. Okay, this is getting wild.
And then June 6th, the next day, the feud took a truly personal, really nasty turn.
This is where it moved beyond just policy disagreements, wasn't it?
Well, way beyond. Musk started suggesting on X that Trump should be impeached, even shared a post that floated the idea of Vice President J.D. Vance taking over.
Seriously.
Yeah. He wrote, time for new leadership. Pretty blunt.
And then came that other claim, The really explosive one.
And then came the very public and, according to the sources, completely unproven claim.
Yeah?
Musk stated, without offering any proof, that Trump's name was in unreleased Jeffrey Epstein files,
Right?
and claimed that was the real reason those files hadn't been made public. He even signed off the post with, "Have a nice day, DJT."
Okay, now, it's really important here, and the sources are absolutely clear on this point, that this claim by Musk has zero proof offered. It should be treated with extreme caution.
Absolutely crucial. Trump's name was in earlier flight logs related to Epstein's plane years ago.
But the sources explicitly state being in those logs does not imply any wrongdoing whatsoever. We're just reporting what Musk claimed as part of this very public fight.
Exactly. Maintaining that impartiality is key. But Trump's response to this specific attack and the others from Musk was severe. He hit back hard on Truth Social, directly threatened Musk's businesses,
How so? What did he threaten?
threatened to cancel Musk's government contracts and subsidies, specifically mentioned the potential loss of billions and billions of dollars.
Billions.
Billions. He emphasized how critical these are for SpaceX's NASA missions, for Starlink's government deals. Hit him where it hurts.
Did Musk respond to that threat?
He offered a brief counter-threat, hinted he might shut down SpaceX's Dragon spacecraft, which NASA uses to get astronauts to the space station.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, but he reportedly walked that back pretty quickly after the public reaction. Maybe realized that was a step too far.
Probably wise.
But he also used the moment to openly speculate about his own political future, stated something like, "The current parties don't represent the future. Time for something new."
Hinting he might start a new political party.
Strongly suggesting it, yeah.
Okay, so beyond this incredible public back and forth, the insults, the threats, what were the actual real-world consequences? There must have been immediate financial political impact.
Oh, absolutely. Financially, the market reacted instantly, like, boom. On June 5th, that day, things really escalated.
Yeah.
Tesla stock dropped significantly, 14.3% in one day.
14%, that's huge. How much value is that?
That single-day drop wiped out somewhere between $150 and $152 billion in value for the company.
Billion. With a B?
Billion. And reportedly cost Musk personally around $8.73 billion. Just like that.
Wow. And the worry for investors is obvious.
Totally clear. The possibility of the President of the United States directly targeting Musk's companies, that creates massive uncertainty.
Could impact things like self-driving car development and those government contracts.
Crucially, the government contracts. As Trump highlighted, SpaceX's $1.8 billion in NASA contracts, Starlink's government deals, they're now potentially at risk. That's a huge overhang.
And politically.
Yeah.
How did people react to this spectacle?
Politically, the reactions were all over the place. House Speaker Mike Johnson reportedly tried to, intervene, expressed hope they could resolve things, apparently even texted Musk urging him to stop fighting over the bill.
Kind of calm things down.
Yeah. Some Democrats, like Representative Melanie Stansbury, called the whole thing Real Housewives drama, but actually agreed with Musk's point that the bill itself should be stopped.
Interesting alignment there. What about Republicans?
Mixed bag. Some, like Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, actually sided with Musk on his concerns about the national debt increase in the bill, found common ground there.
But the Trump loyalists?
Largely dismissed Musk's criticisms, framed them purely as him being angry about losing the EV credits, not about genuine concern over the bill's impact or, the DOGE goals, just sour grapes, basically.
Okay. And looking at their latest comments, say from June 6th, did things cool down at all?
Really, the position seemed pretty hardened. Trump stated on Truth Social he was not interested in talking to Elon, period.
Double down.
Doubled down on the idea Musk was just upset because the subsidies are gone. Reiterated his focus was making America great again, pointing to the bill's tax cuts and military funding as his priorities.
And Musk's perspective.
That's still...
Musk took a more long-term view. He wrote something like, "I'll be around for 40-plus years, long after this administration."
Ooh.
Yeah. The truth will come out about this bill and who's really running things. America deserves better. He kept sharing posts calling for the bill to be stopped, urging people to end this insanity, still fighting it.
So, after tracing that incredibly rapid escalation, partnership to public war, let's try and connect the dots. Why? Why did this fight happen so fiercely, so suddenly, especially after they seemed so close?
Yeah, the sources point to a mix of specific factors. It wasn't just one thing, probably.
Okay, one of the most obvious triggers seems to be that specific policy fight, right? Over the big, beautiful bill.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Cutting EV credits while keeping oil and gas subsidies, that directly hurt Tesla. And it felt like a huge contradiction to Musk, especially given his DOGE role, aiming for efficiency, cost cutting.
exactly. He seemed to genuinely view the bill's massive debt increase as working directly against their supposed shared goals. That was a big one.
Then there's the ego factor.
Oh, for sure. There's also the element of just big egos clashing. Both Trump and Musk are individuals who command immense public attention. They like the spotlight.
Sources suggest Trump might have been irked by talk of President Elon, that kind of stuff.
Possibly, maybe annoyed the spotlight occasionally shifted. And Musk reportedly was unhappy when a friend of his, Jared Isaacman,
The astronaut.
yeah, the billionaire astronaut, pulled from consideration for a potential NASA administrator job. That might have stung Musk personally.
And fundamentally, maybe their long-term visions just weren't aligned, even though they found common ground in 2024.
Seems likely. Musk often talks about a future driven by tech, smaller government, maybe even Millers. While Trump's focus is squarely on his Meiji base, supporting traditional industries, their ultimate goals for the country might just be different when push comes to shove on actual legislation.
And finally, maybe some power games involved.
There are hints of that, too. Some of Musk's associates reportedly suggested he might have wanted more influence. Perhaps even joked about a presidential run himself someday.
And his public talk about potentially starting a new political party.
Exactly. That certainly indicates a willingness to challenge the established power structures when his interests, or maybe his principles, conflict.
Okay. So what does this all mean for you watching this absolutely wild story unfold? What's the bigger takeaway from this very public feud?
Well, politically, Musk's very loud opposition to the big, beautiful bill could genuinely influence some Senate Republicans. That could complicate things for Trump's legislative agenda for sure.
Could it split his base?
Possibly. The feud might force a split within Trump's broader support base, between those who align more with Musk's tech, maybe budget hawk perspective, versus the traditional Magier loyalists. And that could have implications down the line, maybe even looking towards the 2026 midterms.
And economically. The threat of canceling those huge government contracts for SpaceX, Starlink, that's not trivial.
Not at all. We're talking about potentially disrupting crucial U.S. space missions, vital communication systems. It's serious stuff.
And the Tesla stock drop showed how quickly investor confidence can evaporate when there's a direct conflict between a major company and the administration.
Big time. And just from a public perspective, seeing this play out so intensely, so personally on social media, it's a fascinating, maybe slightly terrifying window into how power operates and clashes at the highest levels.
The reactions are divided, obviously, and Musk's decision to throw in that unproven Epstein claim.
Yeah, while it certainly grabbed headlines, it also carries real risks to his own credibility, a high-stakes gamble.
Just quite a trajectory to follow, isn't it? From campaign allies, Mar-a-Lago guests,
Hanging out, making calls.
to bitter public enemies, trading insults, and pretty serious threats, all within about a year.
It's whiplash. And beyond the personal drama, this entire episode really highlights how fragile political alliances can be, especially when they seem based more on convenience or shared short-term goals.
Rather than deep ideology.
Exactly. Rather than a deep shared ideology, it throws into sharp relief the clash between different visions for the country and the immense financial and political stakes when two such powerful figures find themselves really at odds.
It definitely shows how quickly things can change when egos, money, and differing goals collide at the very top. And with that key Senate vote potentially still looming, markets already reacting.
Yeah.
This very public battle feels far from over.
Not by a long shot. Everyone is watching. Watching to see if they can somehow reconcile seems unlikely right now, but who knows? Or if this fight will just continue to shake up both the political and the economic landscape.
Wow.
With billions of dollars, significant policy outcomes, all hanging in the balance.
It really leaves you wondering, just how much deeper the fallout could actually go. Definitely something to keep an eye on. That was a deep dive indeed.